was we're looking at what Chicago Lakeside is doing on their site for the next couple of months, and it's developing whether it's mixed housing, retail, manufacturing, condos, kind of things. It's 600 acres of land, and we're going to take a tour of their marketing center after our tour of commercial. But with that concept in mind, and then what Whiting and Indiana, our other neighbors to the south of us, of developing their business districts, we were looking at how do we not, as Commercial Avenue, again being their 200th year in existence of South Chicago and our 90th year as a chamber, how do we not lose our identity through all of this? And with some little help from our friends at the UIC, they came up with an idea of how we can come up with options of what we can do through their experience. So before we start to introduce UIC, I want to introduce the people that are here. We'll start this way and go around.
Yesenia Carrion from Alderman John Post Office here in the 10th Ward.
Marcia Carroll, MB Financial Bank and SSA Commissioner.
Angela Herlock, began with Clarice and Associates, and also an SSA Commissioner.
Joanne Podkol, South Chicago Chamber of Commerce Board Member, and also volunteer at the Historical Society.
Kevin Murphy, I'm her husband and a videographer. I've got about 160 some videos of community events and stuff on YouTube that we hope will provide some history that nobody else is providing.
Go ahead. Megan McKenna Mejia. I'm a research specialist at UIC-Great Cities Institute at the University of Illinois.
And Teresa Cordova, Director of Great Cities Institute at UIC.
Jack Rocha, UIC student and research assistant at Great Cities Institute.
And anyone want to take the first step on telling us what you guys do already and what you've done so far for other communities?
Well, Great Cities, I'll do that, and then Jack can sort of talk. Megan can add to it, and then Jack can talk about kind of maybe what he had in mind getting this down here. But Great Cities Institute, it represents the University of Illinois Chicago's commitment as an engaged university. Here we are, an urban university, and the question is, what is the connection between University of Illinois at Chicago and the community surrounding areas and so on. So in the early 90s, there was an initiative by our president at that time, President Stupa, or his chancellor at that time, Stupa, for UIC to have this Great Cities commitment and Great Cities initiative. Out of that came the Great Cities Institute. So the Institute itself has been around for 20 years. Back in those days, there was federal funding available for university centers to be able to work directly for communities. So they got a lot of that early funding and provided a lot of technical assistance directly to communities. We had a neighborhood initiatives project, for example, where there was a lot of direct connection helping with economic development and housing development and so on. As the years passed, they went from the first director to the second director. Besides any kind of work with neighborhoods, it's also brings together researchers there at UIC. So I am now its third permanent director. I've been there a little over a year. And as part of my work then, rethinking, well, okay, what should now be the priorities of Great Cities Institute based on sort of the changes in funding, changes in communities, and what changing needs of communities and so on, and trying to think about what should be the match between UIC and communities. My career, I've been in a university as a university professor, but my career really characterizes university-community partners, and I've done things over the years, everything from economic development kinds of things to infrastructure provision, neighborhood change, and so on. So in addition to being director, I'm also a professor of planning. So we do have actually four now clusters, major clusters of our center that we've decided through our process that we think is important for us to focus on based on some of what we're already doing, what some of our scholars are doing, researchers are doing, some of what we think are the needs out there, some of what people have told us is important to them. So the first one is employment and economic development. And in that, we're especially interested in youth employment issues. In my youth, we mean 18 to 24-year-olds, those folks who are being sort of locked out of the labor force for various reasons. But we've also we have work on manufacturing, low-wage labor, those kinds of issues. A second one is local and regional governance. And there we have a participatory budgeting project We have 105 city fiscal policy, comparison of fiscal policies across 105 cities across the country. We've been real interested in this is largely with Megan's incentives or pushes that we are also interested in local and regional governance as it gets played out in relation to the city, to the various suburbs. A third one is what we call cities across the globe, and this allows us to do a lot of the international work that we do. So we pull together researchers that are looking at every cities across the globe, literally. So we've done some symposium work on that. And then the fourth one is on that we're just adding is energy and environment. So issues around environmental justice, issues around climate change, fracking, for example, is something that we will be a resource to folks on access to information. So Megan, you can add a little bit, I think, on some of what else we've been doing in our series and some of the other activities.
Sure. In addition to research, we really do focus on bringing people together to talk about different policy issues that are important. And so we do a lot of different lecture series and different dialogue series. And so last semester we focused on transportation issues and had a variety of different speakers come talk about, bike infrastructure, highway expansion. We had a regional panel that talked about the future of the Regional Transportation Authority, which you may have followed in the news as kind of in a troublesome situation. This semester we're focusing on planning and policy in suburban areas, which is, as Teresa mentioned, kind of driven by my own research and kind of practice, because I'm really interested in poverty in the suburbs and different community development issues in the suburbs as people are kind of priced out of the city. And so we're focusing on different issues in the suburbs. We did a recent conversation about casinos and economic development in the suburbs. We're doing another one this week on homelessness in the suburbs. And so those are some of the kind of other things that we do at GCI. So that covers it.
Yeah. And just sort of one other note, also on kind of somewhat personal note. One of my interests is sort of neighborhood change. This issue of neighborhood decline. Well, first of all, sort of strong, vital communities, and then we saw with the deindustrialization as you lived here, right? What happened to neighborhoods, right? And not only what happened to the neighborhoods themselves, but then what was the rippling effect of that for the families and the households within those neighborhoods? And then what are the kinds of strategies that are effective and for communities to try to rebuild themselves. So it's something that we've been interested in, and I've taught a course over many years now that I call the political economy of urban development, in which we look at how and why these changes have occurred, and how they've been played out in different cities, and then the whole rise of what's now called globalization, and then what that has meant for cities, and so I'm really very. I've always had a real sort of fondness for South Chicago. I grew up in a town that was a coal mining community, 80 miles away from a steel mill. So we were sort of in a pocket, in one of the pockets of the country where there was steel and coal, kind of an industrial area. And so there's always been, and a lot of the same people that settled there settled here. So there's always been, I've always felt this kind of connection to South Chicago, and I really think it's a really special place. But I know that as a result of all this deindustrialization, it was really hit hard.
You say that industrial, our steel mills left 30 years ago. They closed their doors, and this whole development process has taken that long to try to get back to where it used to be, where commercial was a thriving business district with businesses that were had something to offer to the community, and the community was fully supporting it. And the strategy going forward is, how do we do that again? How do we bring that back? And as me and Jack were talking in the past, and he had told me there's this program that we have that can assist with that, and that's why the whole idea was, let's get that together, being part of the chamber now and getting our board members and we're doing a lot of things, like we're doing festivals, we're doing fundraisers, we're doing community awareness, but there still needs to be the other thing. How do we work with the Alderman's office, with the different organizations, and how do we come up with a plan on how to develop this business district? And that'll lead into Jack. When we were talking, Jack, what were some of the ideas that you were coming up with how your program can help us?
Well, I was just hoping that the direction that Teresa mentioned, that organization is going, I felt it might be a good fit for helping to kind of guide a planning process here on Commercial Avenue in South Chicago. So, and then as well as that, but also engaging the students at the university who might be interested in this planning process too. Hopefully, because one of the requirements is I'm in the master's program, is that you have to have a master's project. So I was hoping that it might be a good fit for some of the students in the program for master's projects, maybe that have different tools that can be offered for the planning process or to create a plan.
He was already doing a program here, weren't you? You're doing a study on the housing?
Yeah, I want to do a study on the housing in Bush, which is a community. You guys know what it is, but it's a community that was adjacent to the steel site, and as a result of steel leaving, is I guess it's in flux. So kind of with the new development on the U.S. Steel site, like how can you keep housing there affordable?
So let me just throw this out initially, and then we're gonna do a tour and keep talking and spend a couple hours together. And are we gonna have like a debriefing afterwards? Or
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
more?
And the idea is
Yeah.
we'll do the tour of South Chicago.
Mhm.
Those that have to leave, we'll drop them back off at the chamber, and then we'll go take a tour of the Lakeside Marketing Center, so you guys can get an idea of what Lakeside's going to be developing.
Okay.
And then, because the idea is to work in partnership too with what's going on. And
So-
then, Gail, welcome.
Thank you. Well,
Well, let's see, Gail.
couple of things just for as points of information that some of the work that I did in a previous position where I was director of a research center there, working with students, we worked with a community organization, Community Development Corporation, and developed a small business incubator. And the purpose of the incubator was to provide self-employment as a strategy to improve household wealth and community health, and at the same time to be a provide source of goods and services for the community. Right, so that in that incubator, what you do is you incubate businesses, right, to help them get off their feet, but have it be something in meet direct needs and services of that community.
There's something else we're working on too
Yeah.
here as an incubator. So
Well, one of
give
the
us some
things,
ideas.
one of the things I think where Megan's professional project was to do an evaluation of the what do you call it, of the incubator, and she did both the process and an outcome evaluation. But I think aside from the particular evaluation of that incubator, Megan provided an incredible tool.
Mhm.
So if you think beforehand as you're developing an incubator, how to put some of these sort of measurements, these criteria for how you want to, what it is you want to do and how you would evaluate that, which you do, right? It could be really helpful to have something like that up front, right? So even as you're planning, you're incorporating your ideas of your evaluation, so you can even set up things to monitor just from the get-go. The way you think of your goals and so on, and the way you think about your programmatic aspects. So that's one area where we have experience and expertise, and it's a beautiful incubator. And along with that, they put a commercial kitchen because it was an area where they wanted to be able to take some agricultural products and do the value-added processing. So and the idea wasn't our idea; it was an idea that came from this community-owned corporation, and then we helped them realize the idea. Something else that we're experienced in is doing public participation around infrastructure projects. And so everything from roads, water, sewer, drainage. But whether it's economic development, which we did public participation for that, whether it's infrastructure, the point is we have experience in working with communities in taking them through a process towards an outcome. And in this case, working also directly with the local government, the county government, for the federal regulations on doing environmental impact assessments and so on, and using federal dollars. So anyway, that's just a little bit of some of the skills and some of the experience that maybe something could conceivably tap into. And then I teach a course in the spring called Community Development Practice. So conceivably, some of the students from that class could be students we could tap into, as Jack was saying, other students maybe we can get them to focus their professional project on it. But I guess to do these kinds of things and to have us sort of work with you, what I found in our experience, and this was part of the values, the mission statement even of the center that I used to direct, is that we see, we don't like to just sort of pop in and pop out.
Mhm.
Like to do something like this, it has to be credible. I mean, we could. There's different degrees, right? We just come in. We'll come in for a couple of Saturdays and just help you do a visioning, and then I'll let us know how it goes, kind of thing. So there is that model, and that can be of value to you, right? Or another model could be on occasion when you want us to come down and facilitate, or on occasion if you want us to come down and eyeball something and give you our opinion or give you our reaction. On occasion if you want us to help pull together some other experts and so on. So there's, so that's the second kind of model. And then the third kind of model could be more of a long-term commitment. Now, but part of what that would involve on our end is sort of our own fact that we're kind of in a infancy, if you will, of the third phase of the center. So we're also just kind of picking up some steam here as well. So our own capacity, we're not up to full gear yet to be able to come in and say, oh yeah, we do this, and this. Right? We'd have our own pace, and then we're willing to work with Jack too.
Definitely. We have two new people come on in. Introduce yourself.
I'm Gail Walker with EnviroCom. I've worked on public participation and community involvement aspects of different projects here in the southeast
Okay,
area.
so you do community involvement. So you do the public participation stuff.
Representing environmental aspects of
Oh,
projects.
fantastic.
So, for instance, the former Wisconsin Steelworks cleanup, I worked on that. We just finished that up in January after about 17 years of project work on that. And the redevelopment that's in place there now with the asphalt company, I represent them. So.
Hi, John Thomas. I'm the director of the South Dakota Learning Center. I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce.
No, you're not.
Okay.
You have to pay their dues or?
He's not saying that he's
I'm
the president. He's the president.
So I guess we could start the tour. The idea of the tour is we're going to go to 83rd Street. We're going to come back down Commercial. We'll stop here again, Lydia. If there are people that are running a little late, we'll stop here with 10 minutes. And then get a chance to get back on the tour bus with us. We'll go to 100th Street, come back to East 92nd, East 91st, come back to the Chamber, drop off those that want to go ahead and leave, and then we will go to the Lakeside Center. I know you guys want to see what the development's going to be like over there, and then we'll come back here and we'll debrief. Sound good?
So, really quick, I just want to point out one of the things that we're working on is doing gateway art pieces for the community, and this is going to be one of the entrances, kind of to South Chicago. So we haven't really come up with a plan here in this area, so that's something that we can kind of keep in mind. Any ideas for any kind of entrance to South Chicago in this area?
Something like you did at Humboldt Park with the
Yeah.
arch right?
Or little buildings like the Arch.
Or a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Those two things.
On the other end, once we get there, we're going to be doing the viaducts. But here we don't have a viaduct to enter, so that's something we want to keep in mind.
What's the official 83rd is the official?
This is the official beginning point of our
Okay.
commercial district right
Okay.
here. So again, we have a long-standing gas station as well as a pancake house that's been here for forever. But this right here is the beginning of our commercial district. Some things have changed, like the church here was. How long has that been there?
Oh wow! Well, this new one is probably like 2 years.
2 years old.
It's a very new building. It's beautiful. But they were, I guess, next door. I don't even know how many years. Just really quick, I want to point out the pancake house. The reason is because we have, I'm sure all over the city of Chicago, there's a big graffiti problem. So one of the ways to combat the graffiti issue was to paint their own artwork. So that's kind of the trend around here. And I know that you see it a lot of like Pilsen and little villages and stuff like that. So this is something that like maybe 2 years ago, I believe, was it? That they started
Yeah,
like,
probably. Yeah, about 2.
So just so you're aware.
Can I point out just one little thing too about that church? I believe that church, the congregation is a Haitian congregation.
Yeah.
And I just want to point that out because you probably hear a lot about the diversity of South Chicago. It's still a very immigrant neighborhood, a gateway, so to speak. People are immigrating to South Chicago from other countries, and so we have a large population of Africans, Caribbeans, of course Latinos, and as you go further southeast, like Eastern European, like Croatian and Serbians.
Sullivan School, now it's Epic Academy, one of our charter schools in the neighborhood. Russell Square Park.
Just very quickly, Russell Square Park originally had a Burnham field house, but it was torn down.
Oh. St. Michael's Church, one of the oldest churches, right?
Very beautiful as well. Yeah. It originally, the history is that it originally was meant to be the basilica for the city, but with the Great Fire, it was too far away from the city central, so then it became just a nice spring for us. Yeah.
Now we're heading into what the neighborhood's called the Bush of South Chicago. Why is it called the Bush?
Because that's all that would grow there.
Yeah.
No trees, but
Is it called the Bush? I've heard a couple of stories.
Oh, she has the answer.
Joanne knows the
She
story.
has the answer.
Well, then Joanne,
Well, you tell your story.
No, my story is all urban legend. So.
She said, Joanne said the reason was because of the sandy soil, trees didn't grow there, only bushes.
Correct.
Exactly. Right. Well, that was kind of the same thing. It was like the bushes grew here, and when they were had animals and land, and sheep and farm animals, that's what they were feeding off the bush.
And there's not a building right there now, but during the first election for Obama, there was a huge sign that said, "The Bush votes for Obama."
Yeah. Right.
No, it just said, what I said was Bush votes for
Yeah,
Obama.
Bush votes for Obama. It was quite.
Oh, is that cool?
Yeah.
I think we have photos of that somewhere.
Yeah.
This was actually the downtown of Bush at one time. You know, when our parents were children, this was the South Chicago Burley Avenue. They had a lot of grocery stores, restaurants, bars, barbershops. They had a lot of things on here, dining areas. But as you can see, this area is also.
It's important to remember that a lot of these open spaces had buildings in them. They're
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And also to understand the history of the housing, because this is so close to the proximity of the steel mills, a lot of this housing was worker housing. It wasn't meant to be family housing, so it was mostly housing men and boarding houses and things like that. And then it was reconfigured to be family housing.
What Ann's was talking about, you look at the building across the street, which one is yellow, which one? That's like a boarding house. You see all the windows for all the various.
Right.
It used to be a restaurant. It was a drive-in restaurant.
Yeah, across the street was a hot dog place across on 81st Street, Carl's.
Carl's, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good, Marco, right? All right, Marco says we're good. He knows it.
We came down here and ate at some famous fish.
Oh, Calumet Fishery up on 95th Street.
Okay, and then there's another place that,
For an extra $5, you get the Blues Brothers sunglasses.
Yeah, there you go. There it is.
Seriously, because they filmed
Yeah,
there.
there you go.
They actually dropped off some stuff.
and then there's another restaurant too that's
What kind of restaurant is it?
Well,
Roma?
at the office, you can make sure that, it's not for a second.
What kind of food is it? Like a diner?
Dan, has Father Wolf been talking to you about redevelopment?
What?
Father Wolf?
Yes.
Okay, one of these two buildings was his family.
This one right here.
This one?
is the building right here.
Okay, yeah. So this is a priest who was born in this area. His family owned this, and he wants to rehab it and offer it as
As a
youth
kind of like a
hostel
cafe.
Also
hostel,
public access for
variety
trains. Our public access for
things.
trains. We have an 83rd stop, an 87th stop, and a 91st, 92nd stop for our Metro train station as well.
Oh, okay.
No? Okay.
The end of the line is 93rd, but they connect at, like Hyde Park to the Indiana and Blue Island and University Park trains.
And when I first took the train over at 92nd, I came in from Chicago, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm waiting for the one to go back. And I'm just sitting there. And all of a sudden, it starts going backwards. And I look over and I see we're the end of the line. And you're kind of used to, okay, let's go that way. I'll wait for the one to go this way.
Oh, did you miss it?
I missed it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I missed it. I called up and said, hey, I'm going to be a little late. I'm too embarrassed to tell you why.
So what is this line? This line is called what?
Metro Electric.
It used to be called the Illinois Central.
IC.
Yeah.
IC, right?
Yeah.
I remember it as a kid.
Oh wow.
It runs about every
I remember
hour,
it.
except on Sunday it runs every
I lived right here on 82nd in Houston. I grew up over here in South Dearden and 82nd in Houston. That's where we grew up.
Yeah, nice area.
Yeah. We called it Bush Heights. Anything on the other side of the railroad, Lake South Shore Drive, that's Bush Heights.
When you get over to the lakeside development later on, we just flirted with it when we went over to in the bush area just now. Bear in mind that that was about 70 some acres to begin with, and it looks like you're going into Texas when you get out there. It's 500 and some acres, which is mostly slag. Overall, the steel mill itself built, so it was a much smaller area than you're going to see today.
So now we're back on Commercial Avenue, and we're going south. Pretty much following the train line. Niños Heroes. That school is maybe 25 years old, right? About 25, 1980 something. It started off as
it was to relieve the overcrowding at Sullivan.
Right.
And now it's
overcrowded.
It's overcrowded as well.
Southside was a long way.
You know what? Our bank has been in the community for 100 years, so we're very, focused on community development.
It's
So
in good
that's why
shape still,
I
too.
keep attending these events. And I was born and raised here. I've been here all my life. So, there's a connection there.
They may have joined them.
We're actually very focused on,
Is the building still there?
The building, the gray one, the long gray one on the building?
Really quick, I know we just passed up the currency exchange, but one of the things that the alderman has kind of been focusing on or trying to incorporate is as people develop along commercial is to make sure that it has some kind of green initiative or some kind of some aspect of going green in the building. The currency exchange, there was a fire there. I want to say maybe like 4 years ago. I'm not sure. So, I'm really sad. I don't exactly know what they incorporated green, but I do know that the rainbow, which we're going to be passing later on 91st and Commercial, they have a green roof. And they, it's something that we really can't force them to do. And them as a franchise, especially, it was great to see that they went out of their way to incorporate something green in the community. So we are one of the lead silver.
We are a lead indie neighborhood. And just to add on what she said about the clothing store, they didn't go out for certification, but they are LEED certified. They have the components of LEED certified. Go to see it.
So that's something that we want to incorporate as businesses start redeveloping here in the neighborhood is becoming being known, for our green initiatives.
Angela has been the godmother of greenness. And she has seen it from the very first of the energy efficient buildings.
I wouldn't say, actually my predecessor, so I've been here 11 years, but my predecessor actually started building green homes before I got here, and then we kind of took it to the next level. Yeah.
Also, we are a pedestrian shopping district, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Basically means that there's some requirements that we need to be met. The entrance has to be accessible to the shopping and walking pedestrians. So that is something that we still want to continue to keep in mind as we move forward with development.
One of the other things you should be aware of, Marcia talked about her bank being 100 years old. So we have a couple of others that are close to that, but I don't know if they're actually that old. But we also have churches. The church that we just passed, American Conception, that's more than 100 years old. I think that may go back to about 1882. So we have a beautiful mixture of old and new?
We're starting to come into the heart of Commercial Avenue, our commercial district. This is where most of our traffic, pedestrian traffic is at. It's our busiest part of the district, the corridor. We have the Rainbow clothing store here, Family Dollar, we have Vila.
One of the important parts, you notice the screens. One of the key things that in new buildings that are coming up that the Alderman office and the Chamber's been trying to express is getting away from, or like you see this mural thing, getting away from like the gates and kind of looking like a war zone, but doing something either artistic or doing the screens that go just behind the window to be more attractive.
Technically, being in a pedestrian shopping district, the windows have to be at least 60% visible at all times. So the roll downs kind of defeat their purpose. So that's the reason why, like Angela said, we want to try to gear people towards the
inside grates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mesh ones.
Yeah.
And to prove that good things can still happen and positive miracles still occur in urban areas, at the end of this block, Rola's Restaurant is open again.
Yes! Yay! I've been there twice over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I have.
Historically, Rollers goes
It's
back
right down the
to
corner.
the very early
That's where you
1900s.
said the bar and the restaurant. Yeah.
So we're going under one of the main viaducts. Like I had mentioned about the gateway art pieces, this is the location where we're trying to put one entrance because this is another entrance to South Chicago. It's kind of like on the southern end of South Chicago, we are surrounded by viaducts. So it's kind of like entrances to South Chicago and things. We're looking at, instead of you're doing arches, kind of doing murals, mosaic art pieces, bricolage, and we're going to incorporate students in the community as well as the South Chicago Art Center and artists in the community to do this work.
Also, our community has, I call it the 5 boroughs, our own 5 boroughs, because each one, maybe we have the South Chicago, we were in the small community called Bush. Now we're coming into what some would call Slag Valley, Betts Park area. But it's all, you know, we all consider it South Chicago, but everyone has their own little small name for these communities.
Dan, another thing to mention about that, we're all very fortunate to be part of the 10th Ward.
10th Ward, right.
Yeah.
This is the 10th Ward. This is the 10th Ward of the city of Chicago.
Was 83rd the 10th Ward?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
It's
all the way to 100.
It was not. So we,
Niños Heroes, that isn't 10th
that's
Ward.
7th Ward technically. So at 83rd Street, it splits, and then we have commercial, and then technically Niños Heroes is on Exchange, so that's 7th Ward.
All the way to 130.
Yeah, this is where this trolley. This is where the trolley gets housed.
That's where the trolley gets housed.
That's where the trolleys, that's its home.
Where's the second one?
Harold's Lock and Key's got it.
Oh,
It's locked away.
I thought I saw one at the South Chicago Parent Center.
I'll have to check.
So it's Verdolian Law Center, is that Verdolian?
It's
Yeah, that is Verdolian. Yeah, that's his son. Yeah.
So this Bumblebee Academy used to be a funeral home, so that's kind of crazy.
New life.
life after
That's new life. That's new life.
Yeah.
They started, they no longer in there.
That's cool. It's a circle of life.
Yeah.
Nice. So, like,
So is it
Ethiopian, Ethiopian, what do you call it?
Orthodox?
Orthodox, yeah.
Yeah, it
Ethiopian
used to be a
Orthodox.
Serbian Orthodox church.
like Angela mentioned, there is a huge diversity here in
Yeah.
the neighborhood. So that's great to see. So, Angela, do you know a little bit about this development?
So this development was done by a group called CA Development, and they're up north. They kind of abandoned it. They did these 3 homes. They had the plan was to do about 100 homes, and they didn't really, okay, in my opinion, they didn't really study the market. So they didn't really sell as quickly as they want to. So they kind of abandoned it.
What were they like? I've never been into any of those homes.
Mhm.
What are they kind of like?
You know, I think there are 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I've never been inside either, but I do know the developer, and we talked a lot because we've looked into getting the land. But I've never been inside any of it.
Why do you think that they just didn't?
I think the market, what they were really trying to do, their market really is high-end luxury homes up on the North Shore, and they were really looking for that type of market down here, and they just didn't find it. And they were hoping to, you know, get it or lure it, and it was just not the right timing.
It sounds a little bit like Solar Verde.
Yeah, it's very similar to Solar Verde. Yeah.
No, we don't want to. They're out there right now. They're doing everybody.
I don't think they're really
No, we don't want to go over there at all. Where's that? Edelman's. Yes.
Edelman's.
Nice kid.
Edel.
Great.
Edelman's sponsor.
Oh, he's a sponsor for us.
Yeah.
So, great guy, yeah. No, I think it was the towing service.
Oh, that looks like a boarding house, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Combination tavern and boarding house, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were out there this morning, the beginning.
And this is South
That's
Chicago.
about parents and friends.
It's a developmentally disabled organization, nonprofit, but they actually provide work training, and they do our street cleaning too for the SSA.
This area also has a lot of industry around it. We're getting closer to where the industry is at. We have like BPM, ALS, food liners, we have Cargill, and some more Agrifine. Agrifine is out here. So now we're entering the area of Wood Street. We're going into the area of what they call South Erie, Irondale, for those that, again, we're surrounded by the steel mills, what Gail Walker was talking about earlier about Wisconsin Steel Mill, and turning it over to developing it into an AOS and other businesses out there. You want to talk a little bit about it, Gail?
Well, what we did was we started off with about 180 acres of property and conducted the cleanup over a period of 17 years, as I had mentioned earlier. And what the approach we took was initially we were going to sell the entire property as a single, to a single buyer. But the community expressed interest in getting the property up and redeveloped as soon as possible. And so we sectioned it out based on how long it was going to take various areas, because they all had different historical land uses. And so they would take different remediation tactics to clean them up. So we were able to complete the ones that required less effort, and we sold those initially, and then sold. So we've sold them to 4 different buyers for redevelopment, and 2 of them are auto body or truck body and repair shops, and then Walsh Construction bought another section, but the major portion. About 135 acres was sold to Asphalt Operating Services. And they've redeveloped, to this point, 55 acres, and they still have the remainder to complete. But they're going to be doing that, filling that with either leases to other properties, other businesses, or supplemental work areas that will support their own operations.
And they have environmental controls without asphalt.
That, yes, and it's a LEED certified facility as well.
It's park-like.
Yes,
If you go into it, it's park-like.
it's got the native landscaping for the Calumet region, and
This is the site of the old Wisconsin Steel.
now this corner is actually owned by the city. Ours is just to the east of the railroad tracks.
Acres down there. Yeah.
So this Fresnias Medical Center for Care is new as well. They, if I'm not mistaken, they should be opening. They're not already open, right? I'm not sure if they were. But that was also a medical center before.
It was a medical center before, but it's been closed for a little bit, so it's not that it's reopening.
Yeah,
It was a medical center before.
So it's something, one thing that the South Erie neighborhood, the problem there, I believe, is that a lot of people don't have cars. It's kind of secluded. So one of the things that they brought up a lot is they wanted a super market center or a grocery store. But when we Jules here, and then there was Jules on 95th. You know, I guess it wasn't feasible, or the studies just weren't there. Now that Jules is closed, you know, something to keep in mind. I know they have the little corner stores, but a lot of the times, you know, sometimes you just get your milk or whatever here and there, but you need to go somewhere where they, you know.
This is AOS BPM here.
Options.
Yeah, this is the entrance to AOS. You can see Great Park Flag, and there's a lovely little drive that leads up to the main facility.
Water retention ponds and lots of geese.
AOS stands for what?
Asphalt Operating Services of Chicago.
Yeah, so materials here. We used to have General Mills here when we were younger, but
This
now we
was
have
another part of Wisconsin Steel District.
Arrow. It's called Arrow.
The cars. And then they have these two brothers, and the other brother has a parcel up on Torrance at 109.
Okay, I was gonna say, I can see that name.
If you take a real deep breath around here, you might be able to recapture some of the smells that used to come off General Mills. When they were doing something chocolate, it was like heaven.
That's right. And you got black guys.
Pretty much. From like, when I was, yeah, I got 12 years old.
Now we're back on Commercial Avenue going north.
So one thing we don't have, one thing we have a surplus of is bars.
Bars
A
and
lot
pizza
of-
stops.
Yeah.
What's that?
Pizza joints.
Oh no, we don't have enough.
Capri's is good. No, you're right. We only have 15 of them. Yeah, 15 pieces of pizza.
Only
She hasn't been out in a while. Starting to get her legs stretched out. No, I did not.
So, just so you know, I mean, if you notice, we're in a trolley. A few years back, we had taken a trip to Kenosha, and the way that they rebuilt their business district is that they had a streetcar that they turned, I think, like 50 cents or something to get on. So with their streetcar, they said that was kind of like the focus point of their business district. So we kind of, I guess, decided to bring trolleys to the neighborhood and kind of look at this before, you know, we were thinking of maybe eventually doing streetcars. We're like, you know, let's bring in the trolleys and see how that works. So we had them for a few years. You know, for reasons here and there, they're no longer in use, but then it was kind of like another transportation method for the community for like a quarter.
Yeah, right. Like you said, a lot of people in the South Area neighborhoods in this area they don't have their own cars or their own vehicles. So this was another way to get them back to the business district. But hopefully they bring it back in another way that's
When
cost
we
effective.
have more businesses and more commercial, I think that it was definitely something we could revisit.
And I think that's something too that might lend to expertise in helping us maybe figure out a model in which it can be effectively, economically operated.
Very quickly, the structure that you see sort of framing the east end of this is the Skyway. And at the end of the Skyway is the Indiana Toll Road. And you can see probably the outline of the old State Line generating plant, which is now not exactly abandoned, but I think a company has purchased it, maybe with the idea of turning it into something a little bit more modern. So the structure is still there, but it's on the other side of the Skyway. It's a massive State Line generating plant. The power plant.
You were saying that you would start working like when you viaduct going in that welcomes us.
So would it be in this one? It'd be on the next one?
So just very quickly, the church right here, St. Patrick's, is the oldest in the community. Probably 1860s, I think. The Irish missionaries.
Yesenia, I know you didn't have this one planned for it, but if you go by 35th and Halsted as you go into back of the yards, they have a thing right on the viaduct, welcoming them to come in. So it's a possibility because this is the first thing you see as you make that turn.
Yeah, and that's what Dan was saying. I think we're looking to potentially do all the viaducts. Like even on the east side, they have one on 100th Street and everything. It'd be very nice. I think the one that we're starting off as kind of like a pilot program will be the one on 93rd and Chicago Avenue. But yeah, definitely. Eventually, to be able to incorporate all of these views.
Yeah, but right here.
Yeah, that's
Oh, gas station.
This is our little LaSalle Street. The bank's old and new down here. And Marcia's Bank is to the right at the next corner.
No, we're gonna go to the marketing center so you guys can see what their plans are, their renderings and things like that. Yeah.
Because I just look forward to talking.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do you want to go see the lakeside? If you don't want to, we can go do the debriefing right now in the chamber. So, do you want to see the lakeside or?
I've actually been down
Yeah, honestly, I'm more interested in.
That's perfect. Cool. We'll stop at the chamber. Yeah, we'll go to the
We're not going to go to Lakeside?
Oh, that's right, Tanya. Okay.
You see the look on his face? We're going.
Marcia, you're the only one who wants to get dropped off. So, or do you want to go to the lakeside?
Great.
And Marcia's Bank is, oh, good, we're going to get past it. They're wonderful.
It says Marcia's Bank. What the
MB, Marcia's Bank. MB,
Yay! Marcia's Bank is
It's a
driveway's
gorgeous
right here,
structure.
and
It's
stuff
really
right there.
How far you want to go down?
At the corner, been here 100 years.
Angela, how far you want us to go down?
Can you just
Pass
go down the Casa? Go ahead.
Past the South Chicago Learning Center.
Yes,
That's
That's
the
for
learning
sure.
center.
and then
right
past
there.
Casa Kerr.
Where John works.
Financial.
Is that beautiful?
Yes, it is.
And inside it's gorgeous
It
too.
is.
Yeah.
Marcia decorated herself. So
Yes, yes.
Is it on the architectural?
The bank
Right.
recently
Was
put
it on the architectural
yeah,
tour?
with our $750,000 in improvements on the main floor, and now we're doing the bottom floor for community.
here's our South Chicago Learning Center.
There you go.
Where's your office? Where's your office? The whole thing.
Yeah, we just go to cul-de-sac, I guess. Were you coming back down 92nd or 91st?
Well, you can probably take early, no? Or,
Yeah, you could take Burley or Buffalo down, either
Oh,
one.
yeah.
And if you want to come down then Marcia.
Yes, is your bank an architectural foundation or?
No,
On card.
I can live on that block. My office is on that block.
The closest we came was the Burning Plane tour. Yeah,
This is
21.
long
That's together with Grace.
Oh, long cars, yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you think that
Every year, the architectural foundation.
Probably. So now this is Casa Kerr.
Not where
This
they're
is
on the
a
bus
565 building. This is one of our projects in 2005. This is actually the Victory Center. We're the community for hospice Catholic senior living. It's 112 units of assisted living. And then on the opposite side, it's 72 units of independent living and less supportive housing procedures. It is LEED certified, both buildings are.
It has a garden on top. It's so amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it just looks right on to, this is the connection for Lake Michigan and the Calumet River, so it's a great viewpoint right there.
Yeah, there may be other.
And then most of these houses
You might
that
be
you see on this
identified,
block on the right
but
side,
they have
did
to
have
have staff
70.
in place, for a weekend, and make themselves available for just people to come in and admire.
Oh, wait.
So, yeah.
So we didn't do the ones on this side, we did the ones on this side. And then we did People's Park back in 1998 with the community. It's 3 vacant lots that we turned into a community park. And we're going to have our annual ecumenical service with the local churches, the neighborhood. It's our 15th. Oh, I
Make sure to point out Pilgrim Baptist.
Yes, I will point out Pilgrim Baptist. So where this gentleman is going in is our E-flat building right there. And that came online in 1980 as well. Right here, if you're Blues Brothers fan, this is where the baptist scene happened. The church is over 100 years old. And
it was also on Mike and Molly.
Yes, and Brewster's Place as well. The women of Brewster's Place as well. And then this is one of our buildings, and we did that with NSP funds. We just opened that last summer. This is one of our buildings, and it's been open since 1991. It's our senior building, 53 units of senior housing. And this is Our Lady of Guadalupe in Paris that I spoke to you about.
This is the best place to come. This is the Shrine of St. Jude, patron of lost causes.
Oh, and that's my building right there with the mural on it. That's my office.
Yes.
I'm sure when we donated the paint for them.
Oh.
So this one is
lovely.
Yes. The mural of the Vietnam War. So at the top of it, you see 12 vignettes. There were more soldiers lost from this parish than in any other parish in the United States during the Vietnam War. And then at the bottom, you will see all of the names of those Illinois soldiers that perished at the bottom by names.
That was very special. I remember going down to the
and then this is the YMCA and Metropolitan Family Services and our local library. And both of those buildings are fairly new buildings within like the last 15 years.
And this will soon be so this will be a very this is gonna be one of our
premier
corners it'll be great because we have the YMCA, the library, the art center, and then it's like the computer.
He's a security specialist. Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward when this comes because we had a lot of issues on Houston Avenue, or even just in general, people are afraid to cross over for commercial, like, you know, there's territories, state territories, there's, you know, a lot of kids are worried to cross over commercial avenue, so we're hoping that that kind of becomes a safe zone for kids.
Oh. I brought this along. It's a long time ago now.
Overall, it's a very rich neighborhood and a very rich community, and we're really trying to bring that richness and enhance that.
I've been there. Yeah.
You'll probably have to look over your shoulder when we go past this, but I just wanted to point out this mural. Cynthia did a great job of pointing out some of the newer murals, but some of the older ones really reflect the diversity of the neighborhood. And you'll just see them pop out from different places we can find.
And this one was done with the help of a local artist, but the students, elementary school students, worked on that.
It's a very rich neighborhood, heritage-wise, and we really just want to build on that and create a distinctive neighborhood that, if we're not trying to compete with Lakeside, everybody's happy that Lakeside's coming, but that it would be able to, we'd be able to flourish together and that they could benefit from each other. But that this, the richness and the uniqueness of the heritage. Yeah. It has been a pleasure meeting you too. I have to get back to my office as well. I look forward to talking to you. Oh, it's so wonderful seeing you here. So let's do one. Okay. I'm going to send you my email. Yeah.
I'll give you my business card here.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. Nice meeting all of
Let's
you.
do lunch soon.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Nice to be on here too.
See you later.
Okay.